Hello, everyone, and welcome to the October Kubernetes community meeting. My name is Dan Pop, and I have the honor and privilege to be your host today for the Kubernetes community meeting. Today, our agenda is we're going to be speaking to the various SIGs as well as, but first, let me just shout out to our note taker, who's Cody Cruddington. The first people that will be speaking to us will be from the SIG Instrumentation team. Then we'll have the steering committee. We'll have some release updates. And then we'll also talk to the various updates for the folks in SIG Storage, as well as Service-Catalog, open discussions, announcements, as well as our shout outs. So with that, I'll hand it over to our first speaker, who's going to be from SIG Instrumentation. It's Han Kang. Take it away, Han. Looks like Han hasn't joined as of yet. Alrighty. So in lieu of that, maybe we can skip over to, I guess, the release team at this point, or okay. George, are you good with that? All right, no problem. All right, so we are going to hand it over to Mr. Navarun Paul for him to talk about the release details. Go ahead, take it away, Navarun.
Hey, thanks, Dan, for hosting the meeting today, and thanks, Cody, for taking the notes. So I'll give the 1.20 release updates on behalf of the release team. So in terms of timeline, we are in week 5 of the release, and we are almost halfway through. Yay! And code freeze is on November 12th, and test freeze being on November 23rd. Test freeze is a new event in this release. You can read more about that in the meeting notes. I have put a link to that. Also, docs PR should be ready to be reviewed by the same day, which is November 23rd, and they should be merged by November 30th, which is the docs freeze deadline. And we plan to ship out Kubernetes v1.20.0 on December 8th. Also, just a small note, we will be having a small short break in November due to KubeCon. Everyone will be busy in preparations. Going ahead, we have a new meeting conducted specifically for the Europe plus APAC region. We had the first meeting this week, and we plan to develop it more as we go through and learn from the experiences. The meeting happens at 12 noon UTC, 5:30 IST, or 5 a.m. Pacific time. Feel free to join in if you want to tune into the conversation. Coming to release cuts, patch release of Kubernetes 1.19, 1.19.3 was released yesterday. And there was some little snag in 1.17 and 1.18, and they're in progress and going to be released really soon. Coming to the current release, 1.20.0 Alpha 2 was released on October 13th, which was, I guess, Tuesday, 2 days back. And Alpha 3 is planned to be cut next Tuesday, which is, I think, 20th of October. You can find it in the timeline itself. Going forward, we had a notable event last week, which was the enhancements freeze. Basically, right now we are tracking 56 enhancements, out of which 23 are graduating as alpha, 17 enhancements are graduating as beta, and 16 enhancements are graduating as stable. The exceptions process is still going on. We had 5 exceptions raised as of today. All of those are approved, and they are being tracked as part of the release. Coming to the shadow program, the shadow orientation is complete, and we have 29 shadows this release cycle. I want to thank all people, all applicants for the shadow program, and we look forward to see you in the future teams as well as you learn and grow. And just a plug for SIG release, we are always welcoming new contributors. Feel free to hop into the SIG release channel on Kubernetes Slack. We are always there. With that, the release updates are done. I will hand it over to Stephen for a short update on the Kubernetes release cadence. Stephen, do you want to take it over?
Hey everyone, how's it going? So yeah, so during the 119 release cycle, we got the as you may know, the 119 release cycle was an extremely extended cycle for the year, and we got a lot of feedback, whether it be via direct message or Twitter threads, emails, things like that, about whether or not the Kubernetes release, the Kubernetes minor release cadence would be 3 releases for the year going forward. And I think that it's time that it's been quite a bit of feedback, so I think that it's time that we discuss this in a more official manner. This is something that affects the entire community. This affects not just the SIG leads, the contributors, reviewers, approvers, but also the consumers, the downstream consumers, both as end users as well as integrators for the project. So it's really important that we get as much feedback as possible for this consideration. If you care about this, we've opened an issue in the SIG release repo that has some details, also some links to previous Twitter threads. I did an extremely scientific poll on Twitter, and about 709 people voted on that poll, mentioning that they would love to see 3 releases for the year. So that's one of the options that we're considering, but there are lots of other options to potentially consider. I think that's the one that is closest to what we're already doing today. So I think that having some additional time throughout the year to in between cycles gives us an opportunity to one, minimize churn for end users, two, minimize the amount of effort that it takes for us to spin up a release team. There are about 40 people on a release team that we have to train, recruit, and retain across cycles that we have to consider. There's also the release management work, the work across CI to maintain these branches across the in support cycles for the minor releases. So lots of things to consider, as well as deprecation cycles, the progression of enhancements through the various alpha, beta, and GA stages. So again, if you have feedback on this effort, please let us know. Please try to direct as much of your feedback as possible into the issue, because that's kind of where we're going to be aggregating all of the opinions. And yeah, if you have any questions, let us know.
All righty. Is that are we all set from the release team? All righty.
Yep.
Next up, we have from instrumentation, we have Han Kang from SIG Instrumentation.
Awesome, cool. Hi everyone, I'm Han. I am the official representative for SIG Instrumentation. I am one of the 2 chairs, along with Elena Hashem. So for those of you who are unaware about our SIG, a little bit about us. SIG Instrumentation is a horizontal SIG. We're responsible for the infrastructure and best practices for observing Kubernetes clusters. And Kubernetes is pretty complex. It has a lot of components, a lot of binaries, and each of these have to be instrumented. And SIG Instrumentation basically provides the mechanisms to systematize these observability tools so that we have a consistent and comprehensive story. We like to think of instrumentation as falling under 3 distinct pillars: metrics, logs, and tracing. So very briefly, metrics are time series data, which are emitted by the individual Kubernetes components. These can be scraped and stored in a storage backend like Prometheus or Stackdriver. Logs, which people are probably more familiar with in some shape or form. These are immutable timestamp records of events. These can be in plain text or structured or binary format. in Kubernetes. It's mostly plain text, but we have some initiatives to move towards structured logging, and we're going to go into that in a little bit.
Excuse me, are you sharing anything? Are you sharing any slides?
Sorry.
Yeah, I was hoping to share. I didn't want to interrupt you there, but yeah, if you could share your slides, that'd be awesome.
Let's see. How to do that? Sorry, I am not sure how to do this.
All right, would you like me to share and I can do that if you like.
That would be great.
Okay, are you all seeing this?
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's great. Thank you.
No problem. Just let me know when to advance.
Awesome. So yeah, the last pillar of observability is distributed tracing. So this one is a more sophisticated and nuanced pillar of observability. We are really excited about what we do in this space, but imagine since you were to modify a replica set, 3 replicas or 4 replicas, basically what tracing would need to do is to see all of the requests and all the things that a Kubernetes cluster did up until that point. And let's say 4th pod, a replica set was created, be able to trace all the things that occurred that led up to this pod not being created. So that should theoretically help you debug a misbehaving cluster. Next slide. Yeah, so statuses of caps. Since the last community update meeting, the events API has now graduated. This is the V2 events API. This is a mechanism which Kubernetes has provided for probably at least over 5 versions. It is a variant of structured logs. And if you want to read more about it, there's a link to the cap in the slides. In beta, we have the metric stability framework. Recently, we overhauled a bunch of metrics in open source Kubernetes. This was backwards incompatible. We now have a framework in place to prevent SLO type metrics from breaking. So that is now in beta. Structured logging, we have an effort for structured logging, which basically moves logs from plain text into a more structured form. This is beneficial if you want to query against logs for data. This recently went through production readiness review. And so if you want to read about that, that's also linked. We have a couple things in the pipeline, the road to alpha, as I like to call it. One, we have dynamic cardinality enforcement for metrics. Metrics can basically overwhelm Kubernetes if they misbehave. This has been a painful process for us historically, since we basically need to make code changes every time this happens. This cap allows us to turn off problematic metrics without actually making an upstream change. Distributed tracing was just approved for alpha, so we are pretty excited about making progress on that this release cycle. We have 2 caps for log sanitization. So basically, this is a cross-SIG effort between auth and instrumentation. We want to prevent sensitive information from being leaked in logs. And this is a multi-pronged approach. So the first prong would be to sanitize logs dynamically. And the second approach would be to sanitize things before runtime. And that would be done through static analysis. If you are interested in reading about those or contributing, the links are also provided there. Next slide, please. Okay, so plans for upcoming cycles. We're
Han, you have 4 minutes. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure you know we have 4 minutes. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, yeah. So the plans for upcoming cycles. We're moving metric stability to GA. Cube state metrics releases v2s soon. We have an alpha version currently released. So if people like cube state metrics, please try this alpha v2 version. We need feedback on things that work and things that don't work. Structured logging to beta is slated for the next 2 releases. And we are working on the alpha implementations of the catch that we just mentioned. We have also started working on a few tools that will help people debug Kubernetes clusters. One of these is a CLI that allows you to interact with Prometheus endpoints called PromQ. And another tool which exports systemd logs that David Ashwell has worked on. And so if we are happy to accept contributors and feedback on all of these things. Next slide, please. Yeah, so if you want to contribute to instrumentation, we have a lot of things going on. We're happy to have new contributors and help. Cube State Metrics is seeking new contributors. Lily would love extra hands, anyone who's interested in this stuff, especially with V2 rolling out. Metric Server is seeking new contributors, as is structured logging. For both of those, you can contact Merrick. PromQ is also seeking new contributors, and you can contact any one of us down here. Next slide. And where you can find us, you can reach me on Slack or Elena Hashman, our 2 tech leads, Frederick Branchak and David Ashpool. These are their GitHub and Slack handles. We also have a Slack channel and a mailing list, which are linked here. So that's it for the instrumentation side of things.
Thank you so much. Hey, you know, I'm sorry, I kind of skipped over this now that we have everybody in the channel, and do some housekeeping real quick before we jump it over to Paris real quick. And again, this is a live stream, so this is a community meetings being live streamed, so it's posted publicly on YouTube. So it's going to be, please be mindful of what you say is being recorded. We have a code of conduct, so obviously be excellent to each other as we are, as we're an amazing community, right? And also make sure you're muting if you aren't speaking. With that, I'm going to hand it over to the incomparable Paris Pittman.
The incomparable. Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm Paris. For those who don't know me, I sit on the Kubernetes Steering Committee. I am going to share my screen if that's okay, Pop. Hold on 1 second. I think, hold on. Let me make sure I'm sharing my right screen. Yeah, okay. All right. So I wanted to at least go through before I started. Some folks on the line might not be familiar with the steering committee, so I at least wanted to say this is where we live. This is our GitHub GitHub repo. So if you ever need anything from us, whether it's to talk to us, file an issue, or correct something, help us correct something via pull request, this is where we live. So you can find out more about us, who sits on us, and how you could actually run for steering committee next year. We have elections every year, which actually brings me into one of my first topics, which is we had an election. Thanks so much to everyone that ran. Congratulations to Bob, Jordan, and welcome back, Dims. We had so many people that ran every year. We always think, wow, what an awesome community we have, that folks are stepping up into these chop water and carry wood roles. These are not your standard contributor type roles, so it's very heartwarming to see these folks rise to the occasion, and we're just so blessed to have these folks a part of our community. I did want to take a minute to and also say thank you to all of our contributors and community across the globe. These are trying times for everyone. And it seems like our community has really banded together. We've had nothing but kindness and camaraderie over the last few months as we all work and focus on trying to get ourselves out of this trying time together. So thanks for everyone being awesome. Really, we just wanted to say that because we're still just so grateful that we have the community that we do, and you all are in it. So thanks so much. So there's actually 2 elections that we had this year. The second one was the Code of Conduct Committee election. Congratulations to Karen Chu, Tim Pepper, and Celeste Hogan there. And then also quick thanks to Jace and Carolyn who rolled off this year and for their service for the Code of Conduct Committee. Some new things that were on our plate this year. So new things, we did install a unconscious bias training for our chairs, tech leads, and working group organizers. We've had an awesome success rate. We've had almost all of our chairs and tech leads and working group organizers take that unconscious bias training. We're talking about over 75 people, so it's definitely not just a small group of folks that have done that. Again, it's a true testament to our community's principles and values. Other things that we've been doing is working out and working through a very new process for us, which is the annual report process for community groups. If folks are hearing that for the first time, that's just a way for us to check in with community groups being special interest groups, working groups, and other committees and things like that, other bodies of folks that are working upstream. And these reports are going to really talk about the health of those groups and give also end users kind of like a bird's eye view, if you will, into what's been going on and what are some good things that we should highlight with accolades and what are some challenges that the group has that we should bubble up. So we started with our working groups this year. Next year, we're going to move on to our SIGs in the beginning of the year. So this is also a quick SIGs were coming kind of thing. Steering committee also has liaisons now, which is how we're carrying out these annual reports. The liaisons are really just to help us as we grow. Our community is even larger now. We're talking about over, I think, 37 community groups. And there's only 7 of us. So now we have liaisons where we've divided and conquered. And we've matched up steering committee members with some of those folks in those community groups so that we can help out with annual reports and pretty much anything that comes up throughout the rest of the year that would be governance related or anything that we can help with, funding, etc. Speaking of working groups, there's a new one that's just formed. That is the working group for reliability. Check them out if y'all haven't. They're working out their charter, and I know their first meeting and things like that. So if you are looking for ways to get involved, that could be a good group, especially if you're coming from maybe large end users. And then speaking of other working groups, we had a working group security audit recently moved to become a special interest group. Ian Coldwater and Tabby Sable are going to be chairing that group. So if anybody, that's another contribution opportunity if you're looking for ways to get involved, or if you are currently involved with a project and care about security and any other security related Kubernetes matters that would be dealt with upstream, please feel free to reach out to that group on Slack or on their mailing list. They're trying to shape their group right now. And then, of course, we're still doing our funding thing. So if there's any groups out there that need any kind of funding, testing credits, cloud credits, or anything like that, we do take those requests at that repository right there under our funding repository. So what's on the schedule for us? Right now, we are talking about term limits for ourselves. Right now, we don't have any. Should we have some? So we have a draft PR in for what that would look like. We have to discuss this with the new members now. And then we're also untangling the various uses of the term member because member can be conflicting depending on what that means here. It could mean GitHub org membership. It could mean voting right membership. It can mean a couple of different things. So we're working on untangling some of the language that we use in our governance docs. Our next public meeting is November 2nd. So if you're a contributor that has any kind of issues that you would like to bubble up, or even just stuff that you'd like to say or celebrate, please come visit us, come hang out. We also have a Slack channel, a mailing list, and like I showed you before with the GitHub repo, we also live in GitHub too, so you can reach out to us there. But we've had a lot. Again, thank you so much to the community. You mean so much to us. I mean, I think we just hit like 50,000 contributors recently, if I can recall. It's humongous, probably one of the largest in the world. So thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Paris. Again, it's amazing. The community's contributing. It's phenomenal. So thank you. So now over to our next speaker, which is Xing Yang from the SIG Storage team group.
Hey, Pop, can you please share the slides for me? It'll be easier.
Yeah, no problem. Hold on one sec.
Thanks.
And share. You all seeing this okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Xing Yang. I'm a co-chair of Kubernetes SIG Storage, so I'll be giving an update today. Next slide, please. So first, I will talk about what we have done in the 1.19 release. There were a few features that went beta in 1.19. Both Azure Disk and vSphere CSI migration was promoted to beta in 1.19. This is part of an effort to move in-tree cloud provider plugins to out-of-tree CSI drivers. The next one is CSI Windows that was also promoted to beta. CSI Windows relies on a CSI proxy to perform privileged operations, such as mount and format disks, because Windows containers are not privileged. The other feature that got promoted to beta was immutable secrets and config maps. This allows secrets and config maps to be read-only. And we also have both the volume expansion and volume snapshot features stayed in beta in 1.19, but we made a lot of improvements. For volume expansion, we added the offline volume expansion support detection. And for volume snapshots, we added a validation webhook to validate API objects, moved the snapshot APIs and client library to a separate Go package. In 1.19, we also introduced a few new alpha features. We added a new feature for CSI storage capacity tracking. This has a new CSI storage capacity API object. With this, CSI drivers can report available capacities associated with node topology and storage class through the get capacity CSI function, and Kubernetes scheduler will make placement decisions based on this information. This feature is a stepping stone for supporting dynamic provisioning for local volumes. And the next one is generic ephemeral volume. So this allows an ephemeral volume to be provided by any storage driver that supports dynamic provisioning. So this means all features supported by PBC are also supported by this generic ephemeral volume. This includes this new CSI storage capacity tracking feature, and snapshots and restore and volume resizing. The next new feature introduced in 1.19 is CSI volume health. This feature enables CSI drivers to share abnormal volume conditions from the underlying storage system with Kubernetes so that they can be reported as events on PBCs or pods. This feature serves as a stepping stone towards programmatic detection and correction of volume health issues by Kubernetes. And the next new feature is CSI driver policy for FS group. So this allows CSI drivers to specify whether they support volume ownership and permission modifications. Can we move to the next slide, please? So now I'm talking about our plans for upcoming cycles, including 1.20 and beyond. We continue to work on CSI volume expansion, trying to bring it to GA in 1.21 or later. We plan to deprecate the online-offline volume expansion plugin capability in a future CSI spec release. Online-offline volume expansion will still be supported. It's just this particular plugin capability will be removed from the CSI spec. And the next one is CSI volume snapshot. We are trying to bring it to GA in 1.20 release. We are working on tightening the API validation, adding metric support in snapshot controller, and adding missing E3 tests. The next one is a non-recursive volume ownership feature that is targeting beta in 1.20 release. This allows volume ownership and permission change to be skipped during month. Next one is the CSI driver policy for FS group. So we are targeting beta in 1.20 release. This was just introduced as an alpha feature in 1.19. And for Azure file CSI migration, we're also targeting beta in 1.20 release. Next slide, please. In 1.20, we also plan to introduce the ability to pass port service account token to CSI. This feature proposes a way to get service account token for the pods that the CSI drivers are mounting volumes for. We also have quite a few features that are in design and the prototyping phase. The first one is recovery from volume expansion failure. So this allows recovery from volume expansion failure caused by insufficient quota. This feature right now is still in design discussions. Next one is non-recursive secure Linux. This proposes a way to speed up container startup by mounting volumes with the correct secure Linux label instead of changing each file on the volumes recursively, which could take a long time. It also allows the CSI drivers to opt in to this feature. This feature is also still under design discussions. Next one is the SAP CSI migration that is also being designed. Next one is volume groups. This proposes to introduce a new volume group CRD that groups multiple volumes together and a new group snapshot CRD that supports taking a snapshot of all volumes in a group to ensure right order consistency. We are also looking at how to use this volume group concept to support failure domain spreading. For example, how to place volumes in the same group across different disks in the same storage system. Next one is generic data populator that allows a PVC to be provisioned from an external data source, not just a volume snapshot or another PVC, but it could be an object store, a GitHub repo, an image, or something else. There's already a feature gate, an alpha feature gate that was introduced in 1.18 release, and design and POC are ongoing to have a external data populator implementation in the 1.20 release. The current proposal is to introduce a validation webhook to make sure that the external data source used by the PVC is a supported valid source. And the last one on this slide is the container object storage interface, or COSI. This allows an object bucket to be provisioned and used by a pod. So there have been weekly design meetings for this project. This now is a sub-project under SIG Storage. Repos are created under Kubernetes 6 for prototyping. Next page, please. So now I'm going to talk about cross-SIG working groups and projects. We have a data protection working group, which is a collaboration between SIG Storage and SIG Apps. In this working group, we have been discussing a number of features, including volume groups, generic data populator, and so on that I just mentioned earlier. One feature the working group has been working on is how to quiesce an application before taking a snapshot and unquiesce afterwards. We have a proposal called container notifier. We are working on that proposal with the SIG node. There is a CAP that is being reviewed currently. We also have a few features that we co-own with the SIG apps. The first one is how to support volume expansion for stateful sets. The second one is trying to figure out how to clean up PVCs used by the stateful set when the stateful set is being deleted or scaled down. We also work with SIG scheduling on the prioritization on volume capacity feature, and this one is targeting alpha in 1.20 release. Next slide, please. So here are some general information about the SIG. Saad Ali and myself are co-chairs of SIG Storage. Michelle and Jan are tech leads. And we also have this homepage for SIG Storage that has a lot of information about it. We have a Slack channel and we have a mailing list. We also have bi-weekly meetings. Next meeting happens next Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So join us if you are interested. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you so much, Xingyang. Great stuff. Great. Thanks for sharing from SIG Storage. Next up, we have Mr. Jonathan Burkan from SIG Service-Catalog. Are you out there, Jonathan?
Yeah, I don't know.
There you go. I see it.
I don't have any slides. Our updates are pretty brief. So for those of you who don't know, SIG Service-Catalog is an extension project for Kubernetes. It's an implementation of the Open Service Broker API, which is a specification to allow cloud platforms like Kubernetes to talk to service brokers, which are external servers that implement the API to offer some sort of services like relational databases or such, to offer them up in a way that can be provisioned through native tooling within the platform itself to provision those resources on the back end. And we've been pretty much in maintenance mode for the past 6 months, just kind of keeping up with Kubernetes updates and updates to the OSB API itself. We haven't really had any new major features that people have wanted or that we've been pushing for. Other than that, we've had to deal with the Helm chart kerfuffle. The Helm chart repositories are going away, and that was something that we depended on. So we've had to come up with our own solution, which we've implemented as GitHub pages that we're going to maintain ourselves off of our main repository. And aside from that, the only real announcement I have is that one of our co-chairs, Matthews Sushtok from SAP, is stepping down. He's moving on to new opportunities, still in sort of the open source cloud platform space, but not directly related to his previous role. So he's stepping down, and we're nominating Konstantin Semenov, who I think is here, from VMware to be his replacement. And other than that, we don't really have any big plans for the immediate future. Pretty much going to be more of the same. We've got some updates from the new spec version coming out that we're going to have to get in, but we don't really have any big plans for the immediate future.
Excellent. Thank you, Jonathan, for the update. We appreciate it. Is there any open discussions that anyone wants to bring up? I'll open up the floor.
Just really briefly, I wanted to keying off of Paris's update, I just wanted to give a shout out to the release team leads, Jeremy and his team, for it wasn't a requirement, but they made it a requirement to do inclusive training for the team moving forward. So hat tip to you. Yeah, that's it.
Anyone else besides our esteemed colleague, Stephen Augustus? Or I got George laughing. That's a good thing. All right. Any open announcements? All righty. Well, we're gonna have. I guess we're gonna call that. We're gonna have a next community meeting, and we'll talk about the. I guess the dates are still somewhat in flux, but you know those are something there, and I think we'll have. I think Cody Cardington will be the host for that. So just a heads up on the next community meeting. Next up, we have shout outs. So we have 5 active shout outs that I kind of want to call out here. So let me just share this out. You all seeing my screen? Okay. So we have Robert Kitely, and I'm sorry, Kitely, if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Give me a shout out to Lori Apple. Shout out to Lori Apple and Kitey, Robert Kitey. For just, again, the shout outs to managing the whole collection of CI signal experience and document formally all the work we do in goal-oriented manner, which is awesome. And also it was a response from Lori to Rob Kitey for fantastic work on onboarding for that process and creating mechanisms for automating. So again, shout out to you both. Great mutual shout out. Again, that's what I love about this community is everybody is, just is always complimenting each other, and we're always, fighting for each other. So it's a fantastic thing. I give a shout out to GFI, during the steering committee updates, just stepping up last minute to be able to do streaming was fantastic. A lot of us who couldn't either join or join live, and have really, he stepped at the table, so fantastic for that. It looks like 52 tracked enhancements that Mr. Bobby tables. Again, congrats to him for his nomination as well for the steering committee, for Oikiki for wrangling enhancements. Beautiful, awesome. Mr. Bobby Tables also, again, shout out to Jay Burkus, Jace, and Ehor for serving the community for running the 2020. Let's all give them a hand, obviously, right? So for doing a fantastic job. Yeah, so that is pretty much it. I
got one more.
You got one more? Go ahead. The esteemed colleague Augustus has the floor.
I'm Mr. But wait, there's more. Community, I'm going to be doing the KubeCon, Cloud Native Con, and a virtual keynotes on Kubernetes project updates. I sent an email to the leads and steering requesting some feedback. If there are things in your governance group that you would like potentially featured on the keynote stage for KubeCon, please send me an email with some of those points by the end of the day. So we can roll those in. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Augustus. Is there any other announcements or any wait, there's more for anybody else? All righty. Yeah, I would ask you all to take some time to update the agenda or, comment before we send it. Before I kind of give you some time back on your day, I just want to thank you all again. I said this on Twitter and I'll say it here. We are Kubernetes. Everybody that's in this room that's contributing is phenomenal, the best in class. And I'm so honored and privileged to be hosting this today. And I thank you all for all of your contributions. Are we?
Great job today, Pop.
Great. Good job,
Thanks,
Pop.
everyone.
Bye.
Pop, you did amazing.